seem a little bit nervous, it's because I'm terribly nervous. So bear with me as I try to make sure that I make this as pleasant as possible for you. I want to introduce Eric Cheng. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Cheng. Oh, I apologize. Well, I want to welcome you and thank you very much for taking time out of your day to be here with us. Eric actually comes with us with a huge background. He leads an investment sales team based in Ontario, representing clients in the sales of apartment buildings, condominium conversions, and land for development for apartments in the San Gabriel Valley and Inland Empire. Eric represents a variety of client types, include high net worth individuals, syndications, hedge funds, family trust, private equities, and overseas investors from Asia. As first president of Investment Properties, combining a 10-plus year track record, solid relationships with CBRE, a global platform, Eric will offer unmatched market insight, strategic advice, and stellar performance for his clients. He could possibly be a great contact for you. Thank you very much again, Eric, for being here with us. Matias, thank you, Matias. Matias Suse is the Latin American account manager for Proxio, a Silicon Valley-based technology company that provides network and marketing solutions to the global real estate industry. Proxio's mission is connecting the world of real estate, with its award-winning service adapted to many cultures and delivered in 19 languages. Matias was born in Argentina and studied business administration and marketing at Universidad de Congreso. Since 2002, Matias has been actively involved in the real estate world, working for big developers and brokerage such as RE/MAX and S&P Destination Properties. Thank you, Matias. And last but not least, Michael Ruttle is an immigration attorney. Michael graduated top 5% from Whittier Law School with a concentration in international and cooperative law. There, he served as president of the Moot Court Honors Board and was a member of the Whittier Law Review. During law school, Michael participated in Philip C. Jessup International Law Moot Court competition in Portland, Oregon, where he was recognized as one of the top oral advocates. Michael graduated with a BA from California State University, Long Beach. Prior to law school, Michael spent years living and working abroad in Seville, Spain. Michael worked as a translator, interpreter, where he worked with major international organizations, including NATO. In Costa Rica, Michael continued work as an interpreter, but also worked as a teacher and consultant to employers doing business with U.S. corporations. Welcome, everybody. And with that, we'll get started. Gee, you guys, that was a mouthful for each of you. And that's that we shortened it. So, there are two areas in which we may not get to today. One of them is going to be tax implications, and the other will be lending information for the subject that we're going to be speaking of today. But that can also be something that you may have further information on if you leave your business cards with us. We will make sure that we inform you of any upcoming events where we will include CPAs and lenders for the global community. Okay. So let's start with a few facts. The U.S. attracted $3 billion in investments in 2015. By granting green cards to foreign investors who invested $500,000 as part of the EB-5 investor program. As of May 2nd, 2016, the USCIS approved 834 regional centers. According to NAR, or NAR, 28% of realtors work with international customers. Ranking of U.S. cities for real estate investment in 2015. New York City, New York, San Francisco, California, Houston, Texas, LA, California, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Georgia, Boston, there's 1, 2, 3. There's quite a few more, actually. But let's just name the first 6. This source comes to us from the 2015 AFIRE Annual Foreign Investment Survey. The reason we've pointed out these facts is because there's a lot of money to be made in the global real estate, in specific with the investors that are coming into the U.S. to invest on developments. Eric, can you share with us a little bit of your experience with foreign investors?
Sorry. Okay, now it's on. So we specialize in the representing clients buying and selling investment properties. So anywhere in California, although we concentrate on multi-residential apartment buildings, condominium sort of stuff, but yeah, there have been a surge in foreign investor coming to Southern California, trying to get into development versus buying an existing project, which we actually find that a little bit surprising because the existing project right now in a lot of the places in Southern California is still below replacement cost. So it actually makes more sense for you to buy instead of build something on your own. But their mentality is, probably building from ground up is cheaper, to hold. And it serves, a couple different purposes. Some is EB5, which we actually don't do a lot of that. And then some are just for, park the money long-term for their kids to come here and have some sort of income streams, and also diversifying their capital from different, parts of the world. I'm talking about more, people from China where political environment is very unstable. So they go, let's just go there and buy something. But hey, before we buy it, let's think about building. So it's actually very interesting. Yeah.
And we're throwing the word EB5 visa out there. So what is an EB5 visa? Michael, can you explain?
I'll do my best. So the EB5 visa refers to a type of permanent resident status or green card. It's a program, it was enacted in 1990 by Congress with the intent of stimulating the U.S. Economy through job creation and capital investment by foreign investors. And essentially what it means in a nutshell is if a foreign investor invests between $500,000 up to $1 million minimum and creates a minimum of 10 full-time jobs, then that person, along with their spouse and children under the age of 21, will be able to get permanent resident status or a green card. Well, what's the benefit of that? It means having a green card allows somebody to live and work anywhere in the United States, in any one of the 50 states, even if they want to move to Washington where there's no income tax. And so there are many pros and cons to it. It's a very complicated process, but that's essentially the EB5 in a nutshell. Investment plus job creation equals green card.
Now, furthermore, can you explain to us what the benefits are of the EB5?
Well, so certainly I wrote there are many benefits to the EB5 as opposed to another type of visa or green card. One is an investor can potentially see a return on their investment, right? That's one main thing that they're looking at. They invest money, they hopefully will get a good, decent return. The biggest benefit is that they can be what's called a self-sponsor, because that's very important, because anybody who's gone through the immigration process knows that in most scenarios, if somebody wants to come to the U.S., not just anybody can come here and stay and live legally permanently. You, in most cases, need a sponsor For example, in my situation, I sponsored my wife. My wife is from Europe, and I sponsored her for a green card, and we've been happily married ever since. Employers can also do the same thing. They can sponsor certain employees if they find that there are no U.S. workers available. I want to sponsor this person. The benefit of the EB-5 is that Congress specifically said they don't need a sponsor. They can sponsor themselves because their investment is so beneficial to the U.S. economy that we want them to be able to do that. So that's the biggest benefit of all, as opposed to pursuing other types of visas. Other ones are, after you get a green card, you can potentially become a U.S. citizen after 5 years. That's another big benefit. People kind of take for granted that being a U.S. citizen, you have the right to vote, you have the right to travel freely in and out of the U.S., you can stay out of the country, you can seek refuge, and God forbid if you travel abroad and there's a natural disaster, you can go to a U.S. embassy for refuge. And also, you get jury duty if you're a U.S. citizen. So that's one of the other benefits. So those are some of the benefits in a nutshell.
So we definitely have a line out the door for the jury duty status. Matias, can you share with us how Proxio is assisting in the development realm with EB-5 investors?
Hello, everyone. So, Proxio, we're a technology company, like Dina was telling you guys. So what we do is we provide a set of tools for associations, for agents, for brokers to start connecting with each other. So Proxio has the largest network of real estate professionals in the world. We have more than 800,000 agents in more than 150 countries. So what you could do through one of our platforms that is called Proxio Pro, you can connect with agents around the world. You can start networking with them. You can refer clients. So when they have a client that is interested in moving to the U.S. and they are trying to get to move temporarily, or their kids are trying to move to university, you can start connecting with them. They can come over here. They can purchase property through like an AB5 visa, or there's a lot of different visas they can actually have access to, where they can do some commercial investment, and they can also get a visa where they can bring their families. The family, they can study over here. So that's what you're going to use Proxio Pro to start connecting with agents in different countries around the world, and start basically referring clients and growing your business, basically. In Proxio, you can share your listings. You can translate everything in 19 different languages, 55 different currencies. Also, another platform that you have access to is called Proxio Showcase. What it does is allows you to connect directly with developers around the world, and we give you all the tools that you need to start sending that information to your clients and promoting those developments. So you can start connecting if you have clients that are overseas or anywhere, even here in the US. You can start sending all the information and get connected directly with those developers. You can register those clients, and you can make commissions and referrals out of it. So we have developments in all the US, in Canada, in Mexico, in Costa Rica, in Colombia, in Spain, in Brazil. So again, now you will have unlimited inventory to start promoting. And at the same time, if you have like a luxury properties that you want agents from around the world to start promoting for you, then you can put them into our Proxio Showcase platform. I'm going to give a training after this class so that I can show you what you have access to. And from that, now you have an army of agents that start promoting your properties with all of their clients. And from there, you can get connected with clients that are interested in moving. And then one option is the EB5 visa.
Eric, can you explain to us what processes you've personally used with foreign investors who have come out and either purchased an existing complex or purchased the land to build on?
So majority of our sales are existing apartment buildings. So we have had quite a few transactions, probably less than 20%. That's true, pure foreign capital investment coming to U.S. and buying. Majority, the questions that they have is what's the tax implication? How is it different from paying the tax here, and also do they report it to their different respective countries? Also, getting a loan, is it a very different process, or can they get a different? Do they get the same interest rate, or do they get a higher interest rate? That kind of stuff. So we assist them in helping them do those kind of transactions as well. There was a transaction where they bought a really nice property, 30-some unit apartment buildings, built after 2009 in downtown Brea, and they bought it all cash. So purchasing is actually easy, but when they went and sell, so we helped them sell the property after 2 years, and they bought it for 6.2. We sold it for 8.5 in 2 years, but they were trying to do a 1031 exchange. So at the time they were thinking, okay, we can certainly find them property. Can they get a loan or not? So a lot of the commercial banks that everybody kind of knows, a lot of them said, we can't really do financing for you, but CBRE, we have our financing debt professional that was able to source them financing. So we were able to put them into another project, a 50-unit building in USC. So that was doable. But at the same time, we're in the front end of dealing with clients every single day. We may or may not necessarily talk to banks every single day about foreign program for financing and how's that different. So at least we got it done. So we know that there's financing available. That's one of the story for an existing project. There has been a lot of different talks about coming to U.S. to buy a land, trying to build. I think the most important thing is a lot of time they kind of overlook what's the difficulty, how to deal with the government, cities, and entitlement process. So we act as an intermediary, just help them introduce the right architect, the right people that has relationship in different cities, and then just try to, really help them build that team. Instead of really focusing on the transaction versus that relationship. But it's a long-term process, and it's not so easy. That's the private investor part. We also represent the institutional guys. So like the downtown LA project, the Greenland project, I don't know if you guys heard about the Metropolis project. So we were part of that team that sold the land for $150 million. And it was a local developer, landowner. We represent them, but CBRE has relationship in Beijing. CBRE, which there's 20 offices of CBRE in China. So we connected. We knew Greenland wanted to come out here, so we put that project together.
I'm going to stay with you for a minute here. Do you feel that a local investor transaction is similar to a foreign investor transaction, with the difference of lending and escrow? How do they differ in your experience?
The transaction process is actually pretty much the same, right? Same escrow, same everything. It's just sometimes, depending on where they're at, if it's a private investor, sometimes they're here 2-3 weeks and they go back to their country for 2-3 weeks, and we just got to get an escrow signed and paperwork notarized. So sometimes they're not here to do it, so they have to do it in their country's embassy to send us mail us the document. So that sometimes could be a little bit of a stressful, experience, right before closing escrow. But no, the transactional process is really the same. I think the financing process is slightly different, but there's a lot less banks willing to lend to foreign investor because simply they just couldn't check what their personal asset and stuff like that outside of the country. So they don't know if there's concern about money laundering and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot more banks open up that box and say, look, we can't be that rigid. We have to just lend to them. They have the equity. There's a property. tangible, and if they have, a certain amount of cash over the loan that they're trying to get, why can't we lend to them? That kind of stuff. And now there's more and more banks are actually requiring, though, to check to have the borrower provide the list of property that they own, or what kind of asset do they have outside of the countries. And that's been a kind of a change in banking underwriting these days. But more and more banks are looking into not just the cash, but what else do you own?
1 second. I guess that the transaction is the same. But what you need to think or to understand is that most of the people that are investing in the U.S., in their countries, they are not used to, they don't have escrow. They don't have the system that we have over here. So what you need to do is to act like an advisor, to explain them exactly what they need to do, or what are the steps, and what exactly you want to accomplish with everything. I guess that's the most important part, because they really have no notion of what escrow is. And I say, why do we need that? Why do we need to pay that? Why do we need to do this if we don't do it in our country? So that's what you need to explain them and basically hold them by their hand and take them through the process. In terms of the financing, if you look at all the statistics, most of the people that come and purchase in the U.S., they come and purchase cash, which is better for you guys because you will close the transaction way sooner than anything else. So once you start that relationship, it's really good. Also, the people that invest in the U.S., usually they start small with one home, and then they will buy you another home from that. And then when they start feeling more comfortable, they say, oh, you know what, I want to move to commercial investment, because what they are looking is exactly what the U.S. can give them. It's a security on their investment. Or more security than if they were investing in their countries. So that's why once that you start cultivating that relationship with the client, and if you do a good job with their first property, I guess that you can get clients for life. And then, of course, if you're dealing with high net worth individuals of other countries, they have friends, and they will be able to refer you to other friends and friends and friends. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, and sometimes you start small. I mean, for the EB-5, there's a limit of $500,000 or $1 million, but there are other visas that they can access to get and to move their families into the U.S., where basically they can do an investment of $70,000 or $80,000 or $50,000. They can buy like a taco stand or like a small coffee shop. And from there, of course, that they will need a home to live, so either you will rent a home for them and their family, or they will sell them a home, and then from there, everything goes like a domino effect, and you will start working more and more with international buyers. So that's the system is the same, but you need to be really prepared to explain really simple to them, and to hold their hand and take them through the whole process.
Can I comment on that? So just to kind of piggyback off what both Eric and Matias were saying, they brought up a good point that, yeah, the transaction is kind of the same, but because these safeguards often don't exist in the foreign national's country of origin, due diligence, especially at the early stages, is very, very important. And from an immigration standpoint, the biggest thing that the government wants to see is the source of the funds. They want to make sure that those funds were obtained lawfully. Now, lawfully could be a gift from family, it could be from a business that they owned or sold, or it could just be from an inheritance. But the biggest thing is to be able to document where that money came from all the way to where it's being spent in the U.S. And so due diligence at the beginning, it might take them time to get those documents in their home country. Not only that, those documents have to be translated into English, and vice versa. Sometimes you might need to translate them into their native language. So due diligence, especially at the early stages when dealing with foreign buyers, is very important.
Talking about that also, there are some companies that they specialize on that. So they can help you to basically trace all their funds, or help your clients to trace all their funds, make sure that everything is okay. They transfer the money from wherever the country they're bringing the money into the U.S., and then also doing the transaction or transferring the money into escrow. At the same time, you can use that companies if you need to pay a referral to any agent around the world, you can use those companies. And if you do a transaction in somewhere else in the world, also you can use them to receive the funds that you will get for a referral when you refer a client. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think, the question surrounding the experience differences on a transactional process is really, not a whole lot of different. I think a question could be, discussed surrounding, what's the main differences between a foreign investor coming in and buying residential property or commercial property to begin with. Because as many of you guys know, the foreign investor, they've been buying predominantly a ton of residential properties, right? Whether they use it for themselves or investment, but residential single-family homes, luxury homes and stuff like that. But that's buying a house that's supposedly no one living in there. You go there, check it out, it's nice and all that, zip code, right? School district, good, checked out, buy, done, right? Cash usually, and they don't even live there. But on a commercial property side, I think we're still in the very beginning stage of that process, because a lot of, and now I'm talking about private investor, the institutional clients that we deal with, they're a little bit different. But private investor coming here, they don't understand the commercial side of the business, so they're really, watching and seeing how things are getting done. They're reluctant to get in, and the ones that's getting in, a lot of time, they have friends and family here, as you guys may know. They say, hey, let's buy some property first, try it out. But a lot of them, if it's a structure fund, professional investor who wants to come in, they usually partner up with a sponsor that's already here, that's a operator, maybe not necessarily just a management company, but somebody that knows how to do investment, that can manage and can help them even get the loan, so they provide the cash so they don't have to get the loan on themselves, and partnering up. So that's something that's, I think, worth to think about, whether or not, which side of the business that you would like to get involved with, or understanding that's the key. So again, there's a lot of successful local sponsor who has already been doing this, specializing in multifamily, shopping center, office building, hotel, different type of product type, and doing renovation, raising rents, executing a business strategy. And these investors are coming in and say, look, instead of reinventing the wheel, we're just going to give you the money, have you do it. So that's what we've seen more and more, and that trend is going to continue on. So I think that's worth to mention.
Thank you. So we've established that the transaction with a local investor and a foreign investor is pretty similar. Now, a lot of the times you think of a foreign investor and you think, wow, who's that big monster and how do I get friendly with him? I think the very first question is, who are these investors? And Michael, can you just enlighten us and let us know who these investors are getting the EB-5 visa?
Well, originally it was extremely high net worth individuals. High net worth meaning millionaire, billionaire category. But over the years, we're seeing more and more, it's not just oil tycoons or people who were just born into some sort of nobility, right? A lot of these people more and more are basically a lot of hardworking business folks, especially because with the EB-5 program, as I mentioned earlier, it's investment plus job creation equals a green card. Now, originally, the investment had to be a minimum of $1 million, but over time, the Congress allowed a smaller investment of $500,000 if the investment is through what's called a regional center, which we could talk about later, but or if the investment is in what's called a targeted employment area or somewhere that's high in employment or a rural area. And so individuals, there's a lot more individuals now who have $500,000 available than $1 million available. And so you might actually be very surprised when you're talking with an individual and they say, oh yeah, I own 4 properties in my home country that are rented out and I'm collecting, $50,000 a month in rent, blah, blah, blah. And over the years, I've collected so much money. So it's a very difficult question to answer. Who are these high net worth individuals? But as the economy and as growth in foreign countries, as countries have, their economies have grown, especially we've seen in China, there are a lot more people that were not necessarily born wealthy, but now they have access to this program.
And who they are here. It's not that you need to go somewhere to go and look for them.
Yeah.
They are in your neighborhood. They are everywhere. If you go to a local university and you go to the foreign center, there you have like a huge amount of potential where you start interacting with them. Well, guess what? Their kids have parents in different countries that they are willing to purchase property here in the U.S. So we are not talking here only about EB-5 visa, but it's how to open your mind, whereas you don't need to go to Dubai and look for a client. They are right over here. It's just you need to be too open to start contacting them. I'm more living here in California where everyone is from everywhere. I'm from Argentina, so if a real estate agent sends me a home over here, they can ask, hey, do you have a family that is interested in purchasing in Argentina? I know that the political situation over there is really bad. They can come and invest in the U.S. Oh, let me connect you with my brother or my sister. And that's how you start doing the whole domino effect. But it's not you. Some people think, oh, I don't do international because it's too difficult. I don't have connections. I don't know. It's just a matter of going and connect and try to open your eyes and see where you can connect with people that have ties to international markets. Again, they don't need to be super wealthy individuals to invest in the U.S. Sometimes what they do is that they're hardworking people in their countries, and that there's so much instability over there that they just want to park money outside. So they don't care what they buy. They will never live here. But they want to have an investment over here where they can rent it out and they can basically secure their investment. So that's what you need to know about property management. You need, or at least to have a team where you know a lawyer, of course. You need to be connected with a CPA. You need to be connected with a commercial real estate agent. You need to be ties with, I don't know, to church, ties to universities, ties to everywhere. Do you think that there's a congregation of people? And I'm sure that you will find international buyers that you can get connected to. So you can use our platform also to connect with agents around the world. So sometimes you need to, people get so overwhelmed, so, oh, I don't do international because it's so difficult. It is not difficult, it's here.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the same point because, you know, if it's looking for a prospect, right, and I've stumbled into a lot of people who are just college students, right, and then, you know, two students, they're, you know, 18, 22, talking, and then so-and-so's dad, right, they're in China or Singapore and they want to invest, right, 10 million, 15 million, whatever, right? So school is actually a very good place to actually figure it out, you know, because you just find a lot of guys, they're having their kids going to education here. The parents are back home making money. They may or may not be billionaires, but the kids are here looking for all kinds of different resources in their home, in their, you know, network to build up. So I think that's a great way to look at. We recently had a referral walk into our office, and this guy is a residential broker in Diamond Bar area. And then he said, hey, my daughter goes to Berkeley with this guy who his dad is a, you know, controls some of China's state-owned money and this and that. And, you know, his dad wants to invest over, you know, $1 billion in US. So when we hear that kind of number, we're usually like, yeah, whatever. But we said, well, can you get that gentleman in? Because he said he's flying here. This gentleman came to our office, and literally we wrote an offer that's $150 million for development. And the guy turned out to be having a ton of experiences in offshore kind of different countries, development stuff. And then you just kind of go like, wow, you know, like kind of surprised, but it's just from, you know, college students.
So it does happen. So in all reality, when we think of a foreign investor, he's not a big monster. And if we just equip ourselves with the right knowledge, the right team, and establish relationships with professionals who actually have the experience, is really all you need. If you think of how we practice local real estate, many times you're focusing on ensuring that you know your local market. So we can't really know the entire world because we really need to know our local market. But many times, and oftentimes, you will hear an agent call another agent and say, hey, I'm in Pasadena, but I have a client looking for a beachfront property. May I refer my client over to you? And what do you normally get in return? A referral fee. So if I went to Eric and said, Eric, I'm really not familiar with a $150 million, or let's say $1 billion investment. Can you help me with that, please? I'm certain. I'm certain that even if he doesn't know, okay, all the answers, he will gather another team who actually can assist in that transaction. I get paid, he gets paid, and everyone else involved gets paid. Because at the end of the day, we're all in business to get paid. But we can't be everywhere all the time. But the way we can be is by relationship. So knowing that moving forward, our market is changing. Yes, we are to be professionals in our local market. But there are two doors that are being wide open to the world. This is probably the beginning of what's to come. If you're actually take this as your first steps to building your platform for what's to come, and you begin to get completely informed, get connected with individuals who know the market, then the opportunity may be your uncle, your aunt, your cousin, your mom's neighbor, who are actually residing in other countries, but are looking to invest into the U.S. Now, today's topic is how the global influence is actually affecting our local markets. Well, I think a great example of that is Metropolis. Do most of you know this building in downtown LA? Can you tell us a little bit about Metropolis? And the reason I'm bringing this one up is because this one is in specific a large investment, a great innovative idea that someone had that involved many, many individuals, including real estate agents, banking. I mean, every industry you can think of was involved in this transaction.
Yeah, so when Metropolis started, a couple years ago, we were working with our West LA Beverly Hills office team, multifamily team, before the downtown development boom has started, and the developer has thought about selling the property. At the time, it was still the down market, not yet, but we said, hey, probably in 2014, 15, that may be the time. But at the same time, within our CBRE network, we were already identifying potential investors. And at the time, majority of the local investors has interest here. But at the same time, when we had the listing information share with our international offices in China, different parts of the country, there's a couple of publicly traded state-owned developer in China that was interested, and so not to bore you with the process, they came and bought the project, and the project became one of the first larger foreign investor development deal in downtown LA to date. It's over a $1.5 billion in developments. They've got the best architect firm Gensler partner up, and then trying to build multifamily condominiums, hotels, and with really state-of-the-art concierge services. You have huge outside patio, common area with yoga. You have gym, you have theater, valet parking. Just a very resort-like, but in downtown living, urban, that you don't necessarily have to walk to so many places. I mean, drive to so many places. Excuse me, to do these things. They have it all there. So it's been a one of the major development there. And to Dina's point, I think it is changing how not just transactions that's made, but also how creating more values for other projects nearby, creating different ways for renters or buyers buying these condos. The nearby project, the most similar one, was the Ritz-Carlton project. But at the same time, this actually priced a little bit cheaper. And the finishes, I mean, it's a little bit different project, but my point is, it's just as nice, it's new, and it offers a lot of opportunity for a lot of people to come in and own in downtown LA with studio floor plan, not a huge floor plan. So it caters a lot to younger working professional, and stuff like that. But at the same time, it created a lot of new jobs because a lot of the residential brokers, agents have been selling and showing these units. Initially, these units were pre-sale to China, like 20%, but actually comes to delivering the units, a lot of them back out. So, but still, the majority is the local people that's been buying it. So it is very relevant. And another project at Beverly Hills, it was a land. It was sold for $450 million to build the Waldorf Astoria hotel, which is also purchased by a Chinese Wanda Group, and that's going to transform the West LA, nearby Century City, where there hasn't been any luxury hotels, 5-star hotel in West LA, and that's going to be another one coming in. And I think a lot of time, U.S. developers, U.S. investor, they may or may not have this type of cash at this moment, but development, there's a cyclical process. And right now, these investors from foreign country, they're smart. They're smart to catch that interest at the right point before maybe, who knows, in 2-3 years, we might have another recession or slowdown. But they come in at the right timing, build, finish it, and where they're, creating a lot of values. So that's what's happening.
To add to that, almost there. To add to what Dina was saying about when you have a client that wants to buy in an area where you don't know, well, that's why you have Proxio, because you are part of CRMLS. You have access to our platform. So from there, you can connect. First of all, as I told you, we have an international MLS of 3.5 million active listings. So wherever they ask you that they want a property, probably you will be able to find a lot of options for your clients in Proxio. So, and there's also, we need to differentiate if your client wants to buy like a resale property or if they want to buy directly through a developer. So if you do it through a resale property, then you can connect directly with the agent, the listing agent of that particular property, and start representing your client. If you're working with developers through Proxio Showcase, where you can connect this directly to the developer and start getting the full commission, you're not going to get a referral on that. You will get a full commission just by referring a client into that development. Just to give you an example, there are some developers in Florida, in Miami, that they're paying from 3 to 10% commission just by you referring a qualified prospect to purchase into their developments. Just like that in Canada or in Mexico, Texas, New York. So there's a lot of different developments that you will be able to now start start getting a lot of a really good commission just by referring your clients, that you have the relationship, that you have sold them here several homes, and that in this way you can continue helping them. So what we create for each one of you is a personalized webpage with all the information on the developments that you want to start promoting. We create all the marketing materials for you so that you can start promoting that developments with your clients. And then everything is tied back to you. When you refer a client, the client is tied to you, and then you start working directly with the developer at the developer level, or with the listing agent, and then you're getting a bigger commission. Which one was that? Proxio?
It's going to be Proxio. And there will be training on that after the panel.
Real quick, just one point. Not to be a buzzkill, but unfortunately, lawyers are prohibited under state and federal law from paying referral fees to non-lawyers. So just to get that out there. However, that doesn't mean that we can't work together. There are ways that we can work together and arrange the relationship in a way that both sides benefit. But any lawyer who says, "I'll pay you a referral fee," that's illegal. So sorry about that.
So in other words,
even though if you don't get
Michael will be invited back.
Even though if you don't get a referral, what you need is to have someone on your side that can explain exactly to your client what their options are. So it may not give you a referral, but it basically will solidify your position with your client as a trust advisor.
Thank you.
So you need a lawyer and you need a CPA on your side.
Just like residential, I think having the right team on your side allows you to look like the trusted advisor that we're looked upon as. Many times, as the markets change, we don't know everything. We just don't. But knowing that you have the right resources that you can contact so that they can guide you and lead you and provide the right information, not only to yourself but to your clients, is more than valuable.
Not only that, but the fact that, of course, he works with clients that they don't know that they need to buy, that they want to buy a property.
Matias.
So it can be like a huge opportunity for you guys to get leads of his clients that they want to buy. So
all my clients need a place to live.
And with that, can you explain to us, Michael, what paperwork, initial paperwork, an EB5 prospect needs to furnish?
So there's really two things. There's government filing forms, and then the supporting evidence. Now, for an EB5, the form itself is, you obtain it through the Department of Homeland Security. It's called an I-526. So think I for immigration, 526. Now, it's really just a 2-page form for somebody who says who they are, where they're from, what they're investing, how much they're investing, where they're investing it, right? And the form itself is relatively straightforward. However, the instructions to that form are like 15 pages long, and it explains the types of evidence that you need to submit with that application. As I mentioned, the biggest thing is the source of funds. Where did that person get the money? Did they just work hard for many years and they just have a savings in a bank account? Did they get a gift from a family? Were they born wealthy? Did they hit the lottery? Whatever it is, as long as those funds were obtained legally, you have to be able to trace that and show that to the government from the source to the destination. The second thing you'll need a detailed business plan if the person is the investor, whether it's for the million for the EB5, or as Matias alluded to, there's another option for somebody to invest a smaller amount of money and still get a benefit. Either way, you need a business plan. How is that money going to be spent? Where is it going to be spent? How are the jobs going to be created? Because in order for the government to say, okay, we'll give you a green card or we'll give you a visa, they want to see that the funds are at risk, meaning you're not just going to purchase a property, wait for it to appreciate in value passively, and then sell it for a profit. That's not an investment for immigration purposes. So it does help to have a good CPA on your team who can analyze the funds. And so With that, there's government filing fees just for the I-526 alone. It's $1,500, and that's the government. That's not even. I have no control over that. Then the last thing you'll need as a government form, it's called an I-485. It's the green card application itself, right? So you have the petition for the immigrant investor, and then the petition for the green card, which again is more biographic information. So with that, you'll need birth certificates, passport information. All of it needs to be translated in English. If the person is bringing their spouse, you need a marriage certificate. If they're bringing their children, you need their birth certificates. All of this also, again, needs to be translated into English. But from an investment standpoint, like I said, the two biggest, most important pieces of evidence are the source of funds and the business plan. Cases that are denied very routinely are denied because the sources of funds were not verified. Also, that there was no proof that you didn't convince the government how you were going to spend the money, or that the funds were going to be at risk, and that you were going to create jobs. So those are some things to keep in mind. Did that answer your question?
Answered my question. Hope it answered yours. And just explain to us a little bit more, or actually introduce us to regional centers.
Right. So a regional center is essentially a private for-profit entity that is designated by United States Citizenship and Immigration Service, or USCIS. USCIS is a department below the Department of Homeland Security, right? It's within the Department of Homeland Security. So a regional center is, there are, as you said, 824. In California, I believe there's about 42. I might be wrong on that. But it is essentially a link between projects and investors. So there's two ways that realtors can work with a regional center. Either you have someone who has projects but no investors, or you have investors but no projects. The regional center is will essentially pool investors' money to spend on various real estate development projects. Very common examples, the three that come to mind, there's Marlowe Tower, which is a Houston condominium complex. There's Monroe Estates, which is another residential development in Seattle. There's also restaurants, bakeries, whatever. All of these are regional center projects. And so the beauty about a regional center is it still complies with the investment plus job creation equals green card formula. But with a regional center, the job creation can be what's called indirect job creation. So if a foreign investor wants to invest their own money directly into the U.S. economy without using a regional center, they have to directly create 10 jobs. So a very common example is a hotel. Somebody comes, they buy a hotel, they spend $1 million, they hire housekeepers, chefs, front desk personnel, all those people, right? With a regional center, you can invest only $500,000 and essentially give it to the regional center, and they will spend that money, maybe $100,000 on another project, $100,000 on another project, and through the series of projects, they are indirectly creating jobs. And through that, they can the investor can still benefit from getting the green card and bringing their family over. So that's essentially what a regional center is in a nutshell. It's ancillary to the EB-5 program, but it allows somebody to invest less money but still get the same reward. One caveat I will say, though, is be wary of scams, because you absolutely want to protect your client and make sure that there have been cases of fraud. A very famous case was called the Chicago Convention Center case, where they were a regional center, and then they pooled investors' money, and then when it came time for the investor to show the government that, hey, I've invested the money, I've created the jobs, their money and the people were gone. So that's why I said due diligence at the very beginning of the transaction is crucial. So.
Thank you. Okay. So today's panel is really your initial introduction to global. There are various other teams that you want to establish relationships with. Two of the most important who are not here is a CPA who will advise your clients of any tax implications any of these type of investments may have on their profits, on their investment, and their personal and business tax implications. Then you have the lending industry. Michael mentioned that the initial investment is approximately $500 million. Sorry. We're just talking all these billions, you know. So $500 million. But the actual requirement is $1 million. 500,000, right. But the actual investment is $1 million.
Yeah, the law says it's $1 million. 500,000 is more of an exception to the rule if 500,000 is an exception to the $1 million requirement if they invest through a regional center or if they invest in what's called a targeted employment area, which is an area of high unemployment, unusually high unemployment for the area, or a rural area. Now, usually the areas with high unemployment just happen to be rural. However, as recently as I think 2013, Pasadena was considered a targeted employment area because it had unemployment higher than the surrounding areas. So that's kind of the exception to the rule of $1 million.
So in some instances, the investor may need what they're calling a bridge loan. And I'm going to go back a little bit. We also spoke of escrow, right? Many times, foreign investors, anyone outside of the U.S., really has no clue as to what escrow really is. Well, currently, there are a number of banks who are now acting on opening up their own escrow departments to focus specifically in these types of transactions, one being Citibank. So Citibank actually deals with EB-5 foreign investors, and they have their own escrow company to walk them through step by step through the transaction. So as I mentioned earlier, there's two doors being wide open, and the lending industry is also ensuring that they are placing elements that will allow for these transactions to be facilitated. If they're doing this and you're coming in the ground floor, what do you think it's going to do to you if you have the knowledge and you continue to grow your knowledge in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years? Position yourselves is really the key to ensuring that you become the go-to person for anyone coming in and trying to invest into the U.S. Get connected to as many people as you possibly can. Many of us, I mean, we live in a very diverse area. Many of us have friends, sometimes even in-laws who speak a different language. Get connected with them. Get to know translators. All of these will be the tools to further your knowledge and position you to the next level of real estate. We also on the panel have Matias. Matias to me is walking marketing. We're constantly, not he himself, but Proxio. We are constantly looking of ways to market ourselves. Right? I mean, in reality, the number one thing that we do is market properties, but sometimes we'll throw in our picture just to market ourselves. But Matias' platform, Proxio, is one element that you don't want to lose out on. And the reason is it's very professionally done, and I'm not trying to sell them in no shape or form here. But it's done in a very professional manner. You can actually share most of the pictures and or information or website regarding a development onto all of your social media platforms. And all of them are personalized with all of your information. Should anyone click on it, all they see is your information representing a certain development and or property. Then we have Eric on our panel. He's a great contact because the knowledge in commercial is priceless. If you can get connected with a commercial real estate realtor, the gain that you get is invaluable because not only do you have a resource, but you also have a person who can assist you with the client that you may have within the next year or two. You may not be well versed in a year or two, but I'm certain that Eric can assist you in navigating in a transaction, especially if it's $1 billion. With that, I want to just move on to a little bit more in reference to what it is to market ourselves. Because the very first step that we are to do in order to get clients is market ourselves, right? So, Eric, can you share with us a little bit in reference to what are the best tools and practices that you use to ensure you're attracting the right clients?
This is not including the foreign investor, right? Just typically.
Preferably foreign investor because of today's topic, but I think just in general.
In general, okay. Well, how we market ourselves is no secret. We do a lot of cold calling. I mean, I think it's down to specialization. So we specialize in just multifamily investment properties. We don't try to do shopping center, office building, other product type, which, there's other professional within our office or different offices specialize in that. And understanding the specialization of the product type and region, then we, just like Ina said, I may do apartment building, but I may not be an expert in San Diego. So I will reach out to a professional there, and not only they have, their product type and expertise and all that kind of stuff. So we pride ourselves in our region, but then we do a lot of, prospecting with cold calling, with these clients to market ourselves, but not directly. I mean, we don't ask them, do you want to buy, you want to sell? You just really try to give them very relevant information, wanted to, give them data that could be beneficial to their operation of their commercial properties, understanding what kind of inefficiency or lack of, strategies, or if there's any personal changes that they have within themselves that we can find out and create opportunity to meet with them. So that's really it. And through meeting with them, obviously, conversation can, go far beyond that and create a relationship. We also do a lot of mailer postcards to talk about not just listed, just sold, but also what's happening, some aggregate data, some just stuff that you can summarize that your clients may or may not know, and that's what that's our value. That's what we're here for, because we see more what they don't see, even though they have a lot of asset, but we see these trends, we see these changes, and these changes, even the tiny bits of information could be one of their main reason to transact or make decisions. So, we do that. These are things I think you guys already know, but we try to execute religiously. Also, obviously, e-blast. We've have a lot of personal emails from 10 years ago when there's less people were really doing consistent email campaign. But I saw the opportunity where I think, the industry is going to move towards that, because real estate is very traditional, industry. But now, the technology has changed so much within the last 10 years where we're starting to collect everybody's email. So I change it to I mean, I have categorized with investors or people that don't own property. That's from, our ad. So that's one category. Other professionals like not within the real estate industry, maybe CPA, lawyer, insurance, lender, that's in our vendor box. But we try to send relevant email campaign to different type of people and just do it, be mindful about how you go about doing that. And within the marketing campaign, same thing. We try not to just say, hey, we just sold this, just, price this and that number, but try to be more detailed in a way, like what do we do to achieve a certain result, right? Not just to say we have 10 offers, but how do we get those 10 offers? So those, I think, is what people like to know. And it's also very important because I'm fortunate to be working with CBRE, which is the largest global real estate company in the world, and it's international, in 400 different offices, in 45 countries. And so basically we do have a platform that's set up where every single agent, when we get a listing, it's mandatory to put it in the internal system. And through this system, every CBRE professional within the globe are able to see the listings. So that helps connecting the product type and the money. And I am also, in Southern California, our LA OC region, we also have different product type leaders get together every month on a monthly call with our managing director, and then also set up the calls with Asia. This is targeted to more Asia. So we have the CBRE professional managing director in Shanghai, Beijing, Tokyo, Melbourne, Korea, Taiwan, Taipei, Hong Kong, to talk about what are some of the needs some of these clients have and directly try to match them. So it's not so much about size, but I think the same ideology maybe you guys can take and implement and say, okay, maybe within your group, a couple of different people that you can get on a call once every month and say, hey, I have X amount of people wants to do this and that. What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? So we're still trying to improve, look for ways to do better. But that's some of the things that we try to do in marketing ourselves and connecting the dots.
Yes, so through Proxio, what we allow you to do is not only to market your properties and your listings through different ways, but we also allow you to promote yourself and your brand. So in our platform, what you could do is you can put all your designations, you can put all the information about yourself, like a bio, where everywhere agents around the world and clients will be able to know exactly what you do. Everyone will be able to reach out to you. At the same time, as I was telling you, you can post all that information in all the social networks with one click. We were the first technology company in real estate that incorporated WhatsApp to send properties. For the people that don't know what WhatsApp is, it's one of the messengers. It's one of the biggest messengers in the world. If you work with Latin America or with Europe, that's where they use to communicate. So now you can share properties, you can share developments, you can share all your information through all digital platforms through our platform. Now, you as a member of CRMLS, you have our services for free. So that's why I'm going to be here next to try to teach you how to show you how to use it. And we do webinars every Wednesday and every Thursday in our office that you can log in and learn how to use it. And you are all your properties are already into Proxio because we syndicate all the properties to all the 150 countries. So it's a matter of you get acquainted with the platform that you have, the access that you have through your association, through your MLS, and start using it. That's the most important. But you will see how easy it is to utilize Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, to promote not only your properties, where you can translate them in 16 different languages, send it to your client, do mass emails, but also you and your brand. So stay after this so that I can show you all that.
And so if you think of what the first step is, if you get a lead who is trying to either bring in money into the U.S. and invest, or a lead from a relative who wants to park money and to have a return, I think one of the initial steps is to ensure that you connect with an immigration attorney, and they can better guidance you on the immigration steps to take for that client and or relative. Next, I would probably say if they are looking to invest into something other than just I'm not going to say small, but just a residential unit, but they're actually looking into commercial and you're not well versed in it, Eric would probably be a great person to contact and have him lead the transaction so that your client can have a better return on their money. And if you actually need marketing materials and you haven't really utilized technology, I think one of the best things to use is Proxio because everything's already set up for you. The only thing you would need to do is add or take information that you want on there. And other than that, it's ready to go. It looks professional. It'll make you look like someone who knows the business, knows what they're doing, and it brands you in a different level. So I want to thank all three of the panelists today. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and open the floor for questions. There's a lot more to talk about when it comes to the EB-5 visas, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to investing into buildings, commercial, residential complexes. I mean, there's just so much more to talk about that we can't get it all in within an hour and a half. But get connected, do your own due diligence and research, and you know, hopefully the association will continue to bring in information of value to you so that you can dig deeper and find another niche for yourself. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open the floor.
Dina, can I add one more thing?
Yes, of course.
With our platform, we are not going to, as Dina was saying, we're going to help you promote yourself. So you need to see our platform not only to get clients or to connect with agents around the world. What you need to use and to leverage our platform is when you go to your listings presentations to get a listing appointment with a new client. Because the first thing that the client is going to ask you, what are you doing differently than the 10 clients that I'm going to interview next to you? So even though most of them, they have access to our platform, maybe they are not using it. But so if you go and show them that you are connected with other agents, that immediately when they list with you, your property is going to be syndicated to a lot of different countries, that you have a personal network of agents that you're working, and you're going to capture all that international market. If you show them that you can translate their listing in 19 different languages, and if you show them, oh, you know what, this luxury listing, I'm going to put it into a specific web page, that then it's going to have an army of agents that are going to start helping me promote your listing. That's how you're going to be able to get that listing and differentiate yourself with all the other agents that come out before or after you. So that's why you need to leverage all these tools that you have in your power so that you can get listings here and clients here. So that's what we're going to see after this.
Just open the floor here.
Hi, Tasha Hinchliff with Remax. Two quick questions, one for Matias and one for Michael. You mentioned a Thursday webinar for Proxio. What time is that webinar? Because I know a lot of, when we first partnered with Proxio, so many of our agents didn't know how to actually use the tools, and it's a fabulous toolkit.
So we do have 2 webinars a week. We have every Wednesday at, I believe that is 9 or 10 a.m. I will double check right now. I'm going to show you where you sign up when we go to the training. But I think that is at 9 a.m. every Wednesday. It's for Proxio Pro. On every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is for Proxio Showcase. So you can, if you go to, I'm going to show you how to go to our webpage. There's all the webinars posted over there. You just click, you register yourself, and then you can be anywhere in the world and learning how to use our platforms.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, because the implementation of all the wonderful tools has been a little bit of a problem throughout California, even though it's a great free tool for us. Thank you. And Michael, question for you. I'd heard recently, and my apologies if you already covered this, but I had heard recently that the EB-5 visas were going to be either doubling or tripling in cost, or there were threats of that. Do you know anything about that and what the outcome is, or when those decisions will be made? I mean, that may or may not impact people who are willing to invest $500 to $1 million in a property or in a investment here.
Yeah, so some of the immigrant and non-immigrant visas have seen an increase already in fees, but as far as the EB-5, no, there has not been an increase in the filing fees yet. There's a lot of talk of making several changes to the EB-5 program. One of the changes that they're thinking about making, in addition to increasing the fees, is allowing more visas to be available, because right now there's only 10,000 visas available to, but every year 10,000 visas are available for EB-5s, but that counts towards the investor, his spouse or her spouse, and all their children. So if there's an investor and the spouse with 10 kids, that's 12 visas that are already gone. What they're trying to do is change that so that the 10,000 only counts for the investor. Again, that's one of the other changes that has not gone into effect. But no, the filing fees are still the same: $1,500 for the I-526, $1,070 for the I-485, and then if the green card is granted, it's what's called conditional residency. It's for 2 years, and then after those 2 years, they have to show the government that the 10 jobs have been created. And in order to do that, you have to file that on what's called an I-829, which has a $3,285 filing fee. So like $3,200, $3,300, give or take. That's just the filing fee.
There's not discussion on the table of them doubling or tripling?
There is, but it has not taken effect yet.
And do we know when they will make that decision?
Whenever Congress decides to act.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I'll wait until everybody else asks their.
Anybody else? I think you would be next.
Okay. So, how do you vet the? I guess this is for anybody, but perhaps Eric could start. How do you vet the client who is overseas?
Well, typically, if it's through our CBRE platform, it's a lot easier, just because our other regions, other countries, local professional has already vetted them out, already have relationship with them, done a lot of business with them. So a lot of times the internal platform does help. But if it's somebody that's local here, we meet for the first time, we have no idea about them. So that's it's very hard to vet, because a lot of time in my culture, I'm Chinese, and a lot of, I'm from Taiwan, but a lot of the investors from China, they don't like to give any information. Just like this investor that came over to us, I'll give you an example. I mean, we typically don't care about how much they say they're going to invest, right? Everybody talk about big number. We just care about execution. In here, you want to share proof of funds, right? And also a list of real estate schedule that you have in other parts of the country. Write down your address, write down the size, and that's all we need. But so that's nothing different from here locally. A lot of times they're reluctant to even provide that information. So it's not even just us having the difficulty vetting them out. It's also when you're actually doing the transaction, the seller wants to see it, and they're not able to provide it, then we don't even do a deal with them.
So if they're living overseas and they call you direct, you will invite them to go into their local CBRE and let your people overseas vet them?
Well, typically, if they're not here, they're in a different country, they won't call us. They already call their other country's professional directly, and they talk. The professional will reach out to us and say, "Hey, this is so and so. This is the needs." Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's why you have your team that I was telling you about. So when you have a person that calls up, so when you have someone that calls you from anywhere and say, oh, I want to invest in the U.S., they say, okay, so let me introduce you to the lender that I work, or the lawyer that I work, or the CPA. So they will ask all those questions for you, because maybe they don't want to answer those questions to you, but if a CPA that is going to bring all their family and is going to manage their portfolio is asking the question, it's different. So they can bet that client for you, and they tell them, yeah, he's ready to go, or he's not what you think he is.
Okay. The next one? Oh, one more? Okay. Let me go to the most. Do you only call? So do the three of you only call SIPs realtors?
I'm a realtor, but I'm not a CIPS. I don't practice.
I'm not sure what that means.
Okay,
It's
so
a certified international property specialist. Now, talking about that, I think that it's if you guys want to really be international, work with international clients, you need to have the CIPS. It's probably one of the most important certifications that the NAR has. So definitely, and that's a certification that international buyers understand. There's a lot of certification, they have no idea what it is, but CIPS, they do understand it. So it's worth the investment.
Hi, I'm Gloria Godet. I'm with the Real Estate Group. I think this question would be for Eric and maybe Michael. A few years ago, I was working with a client from China, and his problem was he could only bring in a limited amount of money because that's what the Chinese government would allow him to bring in. So has that changed? Because you're, especially Eric, you're talking about people bringing in millions and billions of dollars. So what has changed in that?
That's a great question. I forgot to cover that. Thanks for bringing that up. It's actually gotten harder. You know, it used to be, I mean, it's always been that government in China has put a limit on how much they can wire out from the money wired to a foreign country every year. I think every year is only 50,000 USD. So it's extremely hard. But what happened is when you have a huge population that's very dense in a village or a community, a lot of time they do have a lot of people they know, and they just give them 50 of them wired, you know, so that's, you know, they do it 2-3 times a month, and all of a sudden you got a couple million here. That's the most traditional way. Believe it or not, that's what most of the people do. There's actually a very common way. If it's a smaller transaction, say $1 million, $2 million, that's what people usually do, you know, friends and family, and just help them wire. If it's a larger amount, to us, it may sound kind of strange, but in China, it's very common. A high net worth individual that has more than 5 million USD in China, any bank you consider a VIP. You go to the bank, you go to the manager, that's usually the wealth, you know, management guy, say, hey, I wanted to wire X amount of money out. He's going to tell you to go to an underground intermediary where they're going to help you get that money out and wire, you know, to US and whatnot. And literally, there's always people trying to bring money in or wire money out. So they just basically act as a broker and help people, you know, put that together. So it's really a underground thing, but it's there's billions of dollars going on in that level all the time. So, yeah.
Crowdfunding at its best.
I have a question regarding foreigners bringing money into the country. I had a transaction this year and with an Iranian family, and they followed all the directions. I told them, you know, when you bring your money from Iran, you have to have a proper paper trail. They did it all. I said, talk to the bank. They were buying all cash. They did everything by the book. They were wonderful to work with. And so it was a lengthy transaction. We came to closing, and 2 days before, when everything was said and done and they were getting ready to wire from the bank to escrow, all their accounts were frozen. They could not pull a dime. It was devastating all around. Also turned out that property was about to go into foreclosure, and it was a big mess. They had done everything by the book, and it was, not dirty money or anything. It was from family property sale over there. And then I've been reading that they're doing this more and more. Do you find that too? Because it's a real concern. Anyways, he had saved everything. I sat there at the bank trying to talk to them. They were totally stone-faced. It was horrible. But took years off of all our lives, I'm sure. But it all worked out. And then the following week, they released the funds. But these funds had been sitting there since last June or July already. And, not a peep that there was anything wrong. It was $500,000. So do you find that this is happening more often? Because I read several articles and I've heard things that banks are freezing funds now.
We haven't seen that happen all the time. A lot of time the investor may, other than the underground way that we were talking about, they wire to different country first. They wire to, I'm talking about more, people from China. They wire to Hong Kong and they wire to, somewhere else first, and then slowly within the 6 months, it's a preparation. So when going back to the same question, when we vet them out, we typically like to ask, where's the fund at? If it's at a different country, at their own country or whatnot, we try to understand what's the process and have them explain that to us, have them write down an email, explain that to the sellers, right? And then at the same time, we verify with the banks, we verify with their banks in international. We do all that before we even try to have them write an offer, before we actually go down that road, go into escrow 2 months and try to close. But I don't know if you can comment if you happen to find out what the reason for the account freeze.
No,
for only $500,000.
They didn't. It was just bizarre because the bank, everything was sitting there. It was fine, and they had talked to the bank. What do we need to do? And they followed it, which was HSCB Bank.
HSBC?
SBC Bank.
Okay.
Yeah. And I sat there with a VP, and they just wouldn't say anything. They said, we don't know. It's coming from higher up. They handed us a sheet of paper that was generic from the government that said certain countries, they might freeze accounts. But none of this was mentioned ahead of time. There was never that. It was always, they had said, we're planning to buy property. What do we need to do? We need to bring the money in. And the bank told them what to do. And they did exactly that. And luckily, they saved all the paperwork, and we had to dig that all out and give it back to them.
And you said that take them a year to then later on wire the money here?
No. The wiring happened relatively quickly. We started looking for property, and they got all their ducks in the row, so they had the money here. The money was here since, I think, end of June, beginning of July last year. And we were closing this year on a transaction, and they suddenly froze everything 2 days before close of escrow.
And then what happened after that?
Well, we got upset, and they didn't even want to talk to us. And I did mention that I was going to share that with my group here at the Global Committee and our board. We ended up closing it, and they released it, and they just said, "Oh, we're very, very sorry."
Oh,
but there was no explanation
yeah,
why.
This bank internal thing, I can't comment. Right? We don't know what the banks, why they do that. But sometimes they may be, if you guys know. But sometimes it may be the individual person's, situation where the bank said, look, why are you wiring all this money there and this and that? I don't know, but it looks like it got done. So there must be some.
Right, but I've been hearing more and more that banks are freezing, foreigners' accounts, and that there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, we haven't seen as much of that. Sometimes what we've done is having if it's an international bank like HSBC, we have HSBC local branch here, manager verifying with their HSBC branch internally, figuring out, okay, do they have that money? Is it okay? What's the process? We verify that out instead of verifying from the clients, because sometimes it could be miscommunication. And then sometimes instead of wiring, we have the local bank HSBC issue a line of credit instead of wiring the money all the way here. So have the local people here doing line of credit.
Right, I understand what you're saying. It's just the money was sitting there. They were waiting for escrow to close. You know, they knew that the money was coming because of a purchase here. It was all legal. And then it just all went south. I know they had to, then we got people in New York involved, because then the bank here said, oh, our headquarters in New York, they have to okay it. It was just a big mess, but.
I was going to say, what was the month?
That was last month.
But we did have some international activity.
Yeah, isn't this?
Sometimes it's the government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And more
So-
with that country in particular, what I've heard is that what people do is they take the money from Iran and they send it to Dubai, and from Dubai then it's easier to bring it to the U.S. So even though you say that the money was already here, maybe because they backtrace it to Iran, that's what it took some time. But that's probably a specific situation that happened. But I mean, that's what you're going to learn when you start doing more and more transactions, that there's actually companies that they can do that for you and help you with that in advance.
Hi, Ben Larson with Engel and Volkers. I was curious, any of you guys know what the future is for the investment from China? I'm hearing conflicting stories that it's slowing down or that it's not. It's going to continue just as strong as it's been. What are your thoughts?
So to 2015, up to 2015, China has invested over 350 billion in U.S. in residential, both residential and commercial. It's forecast that towards 2025, there's going to be another 220 billion that's going to be invested. We don't see that slowing down. It's just the China government is very conscious of that, knowing that, you know, people just want to make the money here and go, you know, somewhere else. So then they're trying to do all these different things to slow it down, stop it. But we don't see that slowing down because, number one, I mean, you know, there's still a lot of money in China that people are, knowing the instability with the political environment, business environment, people are just dying to get their money out. And it's not just to U.S., a lot of different parts of the world. So no, we don't see that really slowing down. But we don't see the. I mean, it was 350 billion in the last 10 years. So, you know, would it be the same amount? It's hard to say. But we feel like this is actually just the beginning of a kind of a wave that's coming in versus the Japanese, you know, back in the early 90s where, you know, they come in and they left, right? So
I had heard, to kind of piggyback on what Eric was saying, I actually heard the figure was around 300 billion. Maybe, but going off of his point, it's not slowing down. There's money in China that people want to leave. They want that money to get out. The economy in China, is it's not the best. There's talk depending on what you read of, you know, possible recession, etc., ghost banks and things like that. There are extra measures that the government might be putting on people to prevent them and make it harder for them to get that money out. And in the U.S., from an immigration standpoint, there are not as many EB-5s available for Chinese investors. Out of those 10,000 visas available, no country can get more than 7% per year. So that's only 700 per country, right? And so for the first time ever in history, China, we saw a backlog with EB-5s because there were so many people. Now, does that mean that they're not going to invest in the U.S. anymore? Of course not. They're still going to invest, but they might not have the same options, immigration options available to them. So for me, I would look for another creative way to see, you know, talk with my realtors, talk with my commercial brokers, talk with my lenders, my CPAs, whoever in my team to see, what else can we do to help this person while still achieving the same goal that they want. So the short answer is no. We don't see it slowing down. We just see it possibly getting harder for them to, or having to go through extra steps to get it out.
You mentioned when you talked at our office.
I did.
You said that there's a backlog, but you said it won't prevent them from still coming and investing. It's just going to take longer for them to get the visa. Correct.
Yeah. So the way it works is you can still file, and when you file for the EB-5 green card, you'll get a letter in the mail with a date that's from the government that says we received your EB-5 application, and whatever date is on there, that's called your priority date. And so you can track the progress online. When you look online, it'll say, and just this morning I looked, and the backlog for China, they said they were processing, I think, November of 2014, give or take, right? So all that means is that they can still get the investment. It's just going to take longer for them to get the immigration benefit in return. So they might have to wait longer before they can actually come and enjoy the fruits of their investment. But they can still invest from abroad.
I also wanted to comment, the first wave in the last 10 years where there's so much money coming from China, right? A lot of these monies are here to stay, right? So it's a ripple effect. It continues to create jobs. The kids are just coming here, maybe from high school now going to college, and they don't plan on going back to China. So they try to, find jobs here. They already did EB-5 or they already got the green card. So they're here to work. They have their home here. So my point is, I feel like it's just it helps our economy, but also other than this grand scheme of things, it really depends. I think the question we ask ourselves is, how do we position ourselves in our business to be in front of this thing? And I just feel like because we're here on the West Coast, the weather, the good school district, and all that kind of stuff, people, not just China, but a lot of different parts of the world are always try to come here and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, we're in the real estate business, and there's, especially in Southern California, maybe except for the Inland Empire, there's scarcity on the land, right? And there's not so much development. And you're already seeing this mixed-use development where we don't typically talk about that 15 years ago. And now, right, everything's mixed-use redevelopment. So I just feel like, even the suburban area is going to get a lot more urbanized, and more money is going to flow into it to try to develop. So going back to the same kind of topic Dina was bringing up, it changes the way we live slowly. And I think it's great. I think we just kind of look forward to how to, help these people.
I think that I'm piggybacking on what Michael was saying. If you know that each country has like 700 visas, right? So that's also a moment to look for other countries that are in an instability right now. So talking about Latin America a little bit. So Venezuela, Peru, Argentina, Mexico, Chile. There's a lot of countries where you can start connecting with agents over there, telling that you are an expert in EB-5, that you want to work with them and their clients. And that's kind of what you can supplement whatever it's going to take time for the Chinese nationals to purchase through that. So that's an opportunity, I think, also.
Bill Gekoskin with England Walkers. I had a two-part question for Matias. What are the requirements to list a property, to market a property, to list a property on Proxio, number one? And number two, I have access to an architect who developed a property in Istanbul. I'm from Turkey. And if I want to market the property on Proxio, maybe in this country, do I have to acquire listing rights for this country? I mean, how does that all work? And what is Proxio's, listing requirements?
So with Proxio, if any property that you have on CRMLS, it goes directly to Proxio. Okay, we take the fees from them. Now, like you said, you're from Turkey and you have ties in Turkey and you want to promote a property from there. You can also upload manually that listings into Proxio, provided that you have the right to sell that property, right? But yes, you can upload that listing manually, and that listing will be under your name. So when people look for properties in Turkey, they will find that property under your name and they will contact you directly. So it's really easy. It's just like you upload the property to the CRMLS, you can upload it into Proxio. And also what you can have, there's different levels of privacy. So you can have the property to be open to everyone. You can only see that people that are in your network that will be able to see the information, or you can put it private, like a pocket listings, where basically if anyone wants to know more about the property, they need to contact you directly through an email. So there's all that information you can put it there.
And our last question.
Hi, my name is Mel O. I'm with Keller Williams. This question is for Michael. Michael, you had mentioned the regional centers, the projects that they have at the regional centers. How much have they been vetted by either the government, or have they been vetted at all?
So as far as being vetted by the government, every regional center has to fill out an application to be recognized as a regional center. The application just in and of itself has a government filing fee of around $6,200. Now, in doing that, the government, again, does their best to vet and make sure that the regional center, the projects they're going to be doing, the projects they're going to be investing in are legitimate and that they're not going to be fraudulent or whatever. But unfortunately, as we saw in the Chicago Convention Center case, that was a designated regional center that had slipped through the cracks, and it just ended up that it was a regional center designated by USCIS. They pooled money from, I think, 25 or 30 investors, and ended up all the investors lost their money. So the government does their best to vet and make sure that everything is on the up and up. Not only that, in California, the regional centers, as I mentioned, I think there's about 42 of them. They are also strictly regulated by the California DDS, or Department of Developmental Services. So not only do you have regular requirements and strict regulations that you have to comply with at the federal level, but in California also at the state level, and other states have their own requirements on these regional centers as well. So it's up to the realtor to be in contact with these individuals at the regional center. If a very common example is, hey, I have an investor, wants to invest in your projects, what do you have available? And that's where it comes from due diligence on the realtor's part at the very early stages to kind of vet them on your own. There's ways you can do it. You can see if they're in compliance with the DDS. You can see if they're in compliance with USCIS and Department of Homeland Security, et cetera. And the regulations that they have to follow are very strict. They're vetted as best they can at the beginning, but we live in an imperfect world, unfortunately. And so sometimes there are regional centers that do fall through the cracks. And so regional centers do have to show what projects they're supposed to list on their website, what projects they have pending, what ones they've actually done, which ones are currently in development, and which ones they're seeking investments for. So there's a variety of ways that you can do your due diligence and make sure that your investors' money will be safe.
And here's our last question.
Sorry, it's actually a two-part question again. When you were just mentioning the regional centers, is there one centralized website where we can do research for what regional centers are currently accepting investment, or that use as a basis for research? And
yeah, you can.
There are a couple questions there.
Yeah, so with that, you can start with uscis.gov. That's the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. It's, again, it's a department within the Department of Homeland Security, and you can go directly to their website. They have a little search engine at the top that says, search our website, just type in regional centers, and then there's various links that it'll take you to for that. USCIS.gov. And if you want, you can also, I don't know the website, but if you Google California Department of Developmental Services, which I don't know their URL off the top of my head, but they will list regional centers specifically within California.
Great, thanks. And then a question for you, Eric, and then a couple of resources that I just wanted to throw out to the audience that might be helpful. I had heard of one of the money exchange companies that is offering a service specifically for Chinese investors whereby they can set up a corporation in Hong Kong through which they can then not be limited to the amount of funds that are wired out. Is that, in fact, a valid option to avoid the underground option or trusting friends and family with 50 grand?
Yeah, that's also a very common way to set up companies in Hong Kong, and then there's not much limit that you can. I think I'm not sure exactly what the regulation is. I don't know the rules, but a lot of people do it that way as well.
I just wanted to know whether that was a valid option because I heard about it recently. Great. Okay. So then just a couple of resources I wanted to mention for people in the room who may not know about it. One great resource, because the situation that Sabine had, unfortunately, does exist for many countries, whether it be in the U.S., funds being frozen, or in other countries. If you're doing investment, if you're dealing with global real estate, you may be representing people here, you may be partnering for other countries. Those kind of situations can happen very often, where the bank will just randomly decide at the last second, we're going to freeze the funds. So I would highly recommend that you partner with local attorneys who are familiar with that, international taxation attorneys, international immigration attorneys in whatever country your client's dealing with, and make sure they work with them because they'll know those kind of nuances. Same thing with escrow officers, but also with international money exchange companies. So two companies which we've found over the years of the Global Committee here at the South Bay who have been really great, and also at NAR, because I served on the NAR Global Committees for a long time, are MoneyCore and AFEX. And both of those companies are wonderful in terms of currency exchange. And bonus, if you register yourself as a realtor, they will pay you a referral fee on the amount that your clients transfer through them, or that you do. If you're going to go on a trip, get your funds from them, and you get a referral. So MoneyCore and AFEX are great resources. And the other resource I just wanted to bring your attention to again, which Dina has probably already done, but I just want to reiterate what Matias was saying earlier. CIPS is a wonderful, wonderful designation from NAR. So is CCIM if you happen to focus in the commercial world. Can you guys raise your hands if you're CIPS in the room? I know there are quite a few of us here. Okay, so raise your hands high, because I want the other people in the room who want to inquire about it to talk to any of us who have our hands raised. Okay, so CIPS is great. And is anyone in the room a CCIM, which is the commercial designation? Okay. If you do focus on commercial, I'd highly recommend that. Carmela Ma, who's going to be teaching that, is one of the top commercial people and top instructors for both CIPS and CCIM. So she's coming here in June, and CIPS is coming here in June as well, and I would highly, highly recommend it.
Okay, everyone. So I hope that you've gotten a little bit of a window in reference to global real estate. I want to thank you again for taking the time to be here with us. We will go ahead and begin the training session with Matias. So any of you who want